All right, everybody, welcome to another deep dive. Today we're going to be focusing on robotics engineering interviews,
Ooh, fun.
and I'm really excited about this one. I think this is going to be really helpful for anybody out there who is prepping for an interview like this.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite areas to talk about.
So we're using RoleCatcher's career and interview guides, kind of like our source material here.
Yeah, excellent resources.
And I'm really curious to kind of pick your brain and get your insights about how to really impress at a robotics engineer interview.
Awesome. Happy to share all the secrets.
Okay, so first question. What sparked your interest in robotics engineering? This one seems simple, but is there a right way to answer this?
Yeah, there's definitely a way to really knock this one out of the park. I think a lot of people just give the very surface level answer of like, oh, I've always liked robots, or I was really interested in technology. But the best answers really tell a story and connect it back to the company you're interviewing with.
So how would you approach this then?
I would really think back to that moment that first got you excited about robotics. You know, was it building Lego robots as a kid or seeing a cool movie with robots in it? Maybe it was a specific class you took in school. Whatever it was, try to really paint a picture of that moment and explain how that passion has evolved over time.
So let's say like my spark was building those Lego Mindstorms robots back in the day.
Perfect. So you could say something like, my fascination with the robotics began when I was a kid building Lego Mindstorms robots. I loved the challenge of figuring out how to make them move and interact with the world. And that early passion for building and problem solving has stayed with me ever since, leading me to pursue a career in robotics engineering.
So it's kind of like showing them how that initial spark is still burning, but it's matured into something more professional.
Exactly. And to make it even better, you can tie it back to the company you're interviewing with. So let's say the company specializes in industrial automation. You could add, I'm particularly drawn to the work you do in industrial automation because I believe that robots have the potential to revolutionize manufacturing and make workplaces safer and more efficient.
So you're showing them you've done your research, you know what they're about,
Yeah,
and you're genuinely excited about their work.
exactly. And that kind of enthusiasm is infectious.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so be prepared to tell a story and connect it to the company.
And be ready for follow-up questions too. They might ask, what area of robotics excites you the most today? Or how have your interests evolved since then?
Okay, follow-ups noted. I feel like RoleCatcher's interview guide is really good at kind of anticipating those curveball questions.
Yeah, they've done a great job of compiling those tricky questions that might catch you off guard.
Okay, question 2 is a little more technical. It says, how familiar are you with robotic operating systems, ROS? This feels like a potential minefield.
Yeah, this one can be tricky because ROS is such a fundamental part of robotics these days. But the key here is to be honest about your level of experience. Don't try to oversell yourself if you're not that familiar with it.
So let's say I've used ROS extensively in my university projects.
Perfect. In that case, you can highlight your proficiency and give specific examples of projects you've worked on. You could say something like, I've used ROS extensively in my robotics research at university, particularly for developing autonomous navigation algorithms for mobile robots.
But what if my ROS experience is limited?
That's totally okay. You can still frame it in a positive light. Focus on your willingness to learn and your strong foundation in related skills. You could say something like, while my direct experience with ROS is limited, I have a strong foundation in programming and I'm confident in my ability to learn new systems quickly. I've already started exploring ROS tutorials and I'm eager to dive deeper into its capabilities.
So you're acknowledging your limitations, but also highlighting your eagerness to learn and adapt.
Exactly. It shows that you're proactive and you're not afraid of a challenge.
That's a great way to spin it. And I love how RoleCatcher actually provides targeted resources for specific questions like this. So if you need to brush up on ROS, they've got you covered.
Yeah, it's awesome. They have links to tutorials, courses, and all sorts of helpful resources to get you up to speed.
Okay, let's move on to question 3. Can you describe your experience with designing and implementing control algorithms for robots?
This one's all about showing off your technical chops. But again, avoid getting lost in the jargon. Remember, you're talking to a human, not another robot.
So instead of just rattling off a bunch of technical terms and equations?
Exactly. Think about a specific project where you had to design a control system.
Right.
What were the challenges? How did you approach them? And what were the results?
So for example, instead of just saying, I'm proficient in PID control, I could talk about a time I had to design a PID controller for a robotic arm to optimize its trajectory and minimize vibrations.
Perfect. That's a much more engaging and memorable way to showcase your skills. You're telling a story and bringing your experience to life.
It's like showing them you can walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Right. And be ready for follow-up questions like, What specific control techniques did you use, or how did you validate your control system?
Okay, stories and follow-ups. Got it. I'm
Yeah.
taking notes here. This is gold.
Glad to be of service. All right, let's move on to question 4. How do you approach debugging and troubleshooting issues in robotics systems?
Ooh, that sounds stressful just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Everything always seems to go wrong at the worst possible time.
It's inevitable that things will break down or malfunction in complex systems. So interviewers want to know how you handle those high-pressure situations.
So what are they really looking for here?
They're assessing your problem-solving skills, your ability to think critically, and your ability to stay calm under pressure.
So instead of panicking and throwing my hands up in the air,
Exactly. Walk them through your methodical approach. Highlight your analytical thinking and showcase your ability to identify the root cause of problems.
so I could explain my step-by-step process for debugging a robot, starting with checking the sensor data, then analyzing the code, and testing different hypotheses until I pinpoint the issue.
Exactly. And it's a great opportunity to mention any debugging tools or techniques you're familiar with, like using a debugger to step through code or using a logic analyzer to monitor signals.
So it's not just about solving the problem, it's about showing them you have a system.
Right. It shows that you're not just randomly trying things, you have a structured approach to problem solving.
That makes sense. Okay, so far we've covered some pretty technical questions, but before we jump into the next one, I'm curious about something I read in RoleCatcher's Career Guide. It mentions the impact of AI and machine learning on control algorithms. How does that play into a robotics interview?
That's a great question, and it's a huge factor. AI and machine learning are transforming how robots learn and adapt, so interviewers might ask about your experience with these technologies.
So if I've worked with reinforcement learning algorithms or something like that, I should definitely mention it.
Absolutely. It shows that you're keeping up with industry trends and that you're interested in pushing the boundaries of robotics.
It's like you're saying, hey, I'm not just stuck in the past, I'm looking towards the future of robotics.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher can actually help you prepare for this specific question by providing insights into what specific AI skills are in demand for the role you're applying for.
That's amazing. It's like having a personalized AI tutor.
Pretty much. It can point you in the right direction and help you tailor your answers to impress the interviewers.
Okay, I'm loving this. All right, let's tackle question 5. What is your experience with computer vision and object recognition in robotics? This one feels like a whole other level of complexity.
It's definitely a complex field, but don't let that intimidate you. The key here is to focus on your practical experience, even if it's from university projects or personal explorations.
So even if I haven't built a full-blown self-driving car.
Exactly. Have you worked with image processing, object detection, or feature extraction?
Well, I did build a basic object recognition system for my final year project using OpenCV.
That's perfect. Tell them about that project. Describe the challenges you faced, the techniques you used, and the results you achieved.
So instead of just saying, I know OpenCV,
Right. Give them a concrete example of how you've applied your knowledge to solve a real-world problem. Even if it was just a small-scale project, it shows that you can take a concept from theory to practice.
and of course be ready for those follow-up questions.
Always. They might ask you about specific algorithms you used or how you handled variations in lighting or object orientation.
Okay, I'm starting to see a pattern here. Stories, details, and follow-ups. That seems to be the key to nailing these interviews.
You got it. And remember, RoleCatcher can help you refine your stories and make sure you're hitting all the right points.
Okay, I'm feeling more confident already.
Hmm.
Question number 6 is an interesting one. How do you ensure the safety of robots in dynamic environments? This one feels particularly relevant with all the talk about robots and AI taking over the world.
It's a crucial question, as safety is paramount in robotics, especially as robots increasingly operate alongside humans.
So they want to know that I'm not just building robots that are going to go rogue and cause chaos.
Exactly. Interviewers want to see that you take safety seriously and that you understand the principles of safe robot design and operation.
So I should talk about things like incorporating safety sensors, implementing fail-safe mechanisms, and adhering to industry safety standards.
Absolutely. And you can even go a step further by talking about your approach to risk assessment and mitigation.
So like thinking about all the potential hazards and figuring out ways to minimize the risks.
Exactly. It shows that you have a proactive mindset when it comes to safety.
This is so much more than just knowing how to code a robot.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the real-world implications of your work and ensuring that your creations are safe and beneficial for society.
Okay, ethical considerations noted. Before we move on to the final question in this part, I want to touch on something we mentioned earlier. RoleCatcher's AI-powered feedback. Can you elaborate on how that works?
Sure thing. RoleCatcher's platform goes beyond just providing sample questions and answers. It actually allows you to input your own responses and get AI-powered feedback on how to improve them.
Wait, so it's like having an expert critique my answers and suggest ways to make them stronger.
Exactly. It analyzes your language, identifies areas for improvement, and even suggests ways to tailor your responses to the specific job description.
That's incredible. It's like having a personal interview coach in my pocket.
It's an amazing tool to help you really refine your answers and put your best foot forward.
Okay, last question for this part. Can you describe your experience with sensor fusion and localization in robotic systems? This one sounds especially technical.
It is technical, but remember, interviewers are looking for your ability to explain complex concepts clearly and concisely.
So no jargon-filled monologues.
Definitely not. Think about it this way. Sensor fusion is about combining data from multiple sensors to improve a robot's perception of the world.
Like giving the robot multiple eyes to see things more clearly?
Exactly. And localization is about determining the robot's position and orientation in its environment.
So like knowing where the robot is on a map.
Right. And these two concepts are essential for many robotic applications, especially those involving navigation and autonomous operation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm.
So how would you approach this question in an interview?
Think of a project where you've applied these concepts. Even if it wasn't a super complex project, you can still talk about the fundamentals of sensor fusion and localization.
For example, I worked on a project where I had to fuse data from an accelerometer and a gyroscope to estimate a robot's orientation.
Perfect. Share that story, explain how you implemented the sensor fusion algorithm, the challenges you faced, and the results you achieved.
And of course, be prepared for follow-up questions about specific techniques or algorithms.
You know it. They might ask you about Kalman filtering, particle filtering, or other common approaches to sensor fusion and localization.
All right, this is all starting to click. Now I'm feeling much more prepared to tackle those technical questions.
That's what we like to hear. And remember, RoleCatcher is there to help you every step of the way with its resources, feedback, and personalized guidance.
This is amazing. I'm so glad we did this deep dive. It's been incredibly helpful. I feel like I have a much better understanding of what interviewers are looking for and how to approach those tricky questions.
I'm happy to hear that. And remember, the most important thing is to be yourself. Let your passion shine through and show them why you're the perfect fit for their team.
Great advice. Thanks so much for all the insights.
My pleasure, anytime.
All right, listeners, that's it for this part of our deep dive into robotics engineer interviews. We'll be back soon with more tips and tricks to help you land your dream job in the world of robotics. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody. Before we jump back into those interview questions, I kind of want to take a step back and talk about the bigger picture of robotics engineering, you know?
Yeah, I think it's easy to get caught up in the technical details and forget about the why behind it all.
Exactly. So, like, what really drives you to work in robotics?
For me, it's the potential to solve real-world problems and make a positive impact on the world.
Yeah, I think that's a common thread among robotics engineers, this desire to use technology to improve lives, whether it's through automation healthcare or exploration.
And speaking of impact, RoleCatcher's career guide actually emphasizes the ethical considerations in robotics. It's not just about building cool robots, it's about building them responsibly.
Absolutely. That's a really important point. Interviewers might ask about your understanding of the ethical implications, especially with AI and autonomous systems becoming more prevalent.
So it's worth thinking about those things, How can we ensure robots are used for good? How do we address potential biases in algorithms? And how do we design robots that interact safely and ethically with humans?
Right. It shows that you're not just a techie, but you're also a thoughtful engineer who considers the broader impact of your work.
Makes sense. Okay, so back to those interview questions. We left off with sensor fusion and localization. What are some other curveballs interviewers might throw our way?
Let me think. Well, they might ask about your experience with specific robotic hardware platforms like Arduino or Raspberry Pi.
Oh yeah, those are pretty popular in the maker community.
Exactly. Or they might dig deeper into your knowledge of different types of sensors, actuators, and control systems.
So it's not just about the theory. It's about having hands-on experience with the tools of the trade.
Right. And this is where your personal projects and hobbies can really shine.
Yeah, those side projects are like your secret weapon. They show that you're genuinely passionate about robotics and you're not just doing it for the paycheck.
Exactly. They demonstrate your curiosity, your initiative, and your willingness to go above and beyond.
It's like saying, hey, I love robotics so much that I build robots in my spare time.
Exactly. And speaking of secret weapons, let's not forget about RoleCatcher. Their AI-powered platform can actually analyze job descriptions and identify the specific skills and keywords that employers are looking for.
Oh yeah, that's right. So I can use RoleCatcher to tailor my answers and make sure I'm hitting all the right points. It's like having an insider's guide to what interviewers are really looking for.
Exactly. It can help you bridge the gap between your skills and the specific requirements of the role. And it can even provide feedback on your language and tone, making sure you're coming across as confident and articulate.
This is so cool. I'm feeling more and more prepared with every tip.
Glad to hear it. All right, let's dive into some more of those sample questions. What about this one? How do you stay up to date with the latest advancements in robotics technology?
Oh, that's a good one. Robotics is such a rapidly evolving field, it's hard to keep up sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. So interviewers want to see that you're committed to continuous learning and that you're passionate about staying ahead of the curve.
So I shouldn't just say I Google it.
Probably not, ha ha ha. Be specific about your sources of information. Do you follow industry blogs or research journals? Do you attend conferences or workshops? Do you participate in online forums or communities?
Okay, so I can say something like, I subscribe to IE Spectrum and Robotics Business Review. I follow leading researchers on Twitter, and I regularly attend online webinars and workshops to learn about the latest advancements in AI and robotics.
Perfect. That shows that you're actively engaged in the robotics community and you're serious about expanding your knowledge.
And this is where RoleCatcher comes in handy, right? They have a whole section dedicated to resources and links to relevant organizations and publications.
You got it. It's like having a personalized learning path for robotics guiding you to the most valuable and up-to-date information.
This is fantastic.
Uh,
Okay, next question. Can you describe a complex robotics project you've worked on from inception to completion? This one feels like the grand finale.
It is your chance to shine. Choose a project that highlights your skills and aligns with the specific role you're applying for.
So should I just give them a laundry list of all the technical details?
No, no. Remember, you're talking to a human, not a robot. Tell a compelling story.
Okay, so set the stage. Describe the project's objectives, the challenges I encountered, and how I approached them.
Exactly. And don't forget to focus on your specific contributions and the results you achieved. Did you overcome any technical hurdles? Did you implement any innovative solutions? Did you collaborate effectively with your team?
Got it. So, for example, I could talk about a project where I had to design a control system for a robotic arm to sort objects based on their color and shape.
Okay, sounds interesting. What were the challenges?
Well, the objects were irregularly shaped, and the lighting conditions varied. So it was a real challenge to develop a robust computer vision algorithm that could accurately identify and sort the objects.
And how did you solve that?
I ended up using a combination of machine learning techniques and traditional image processing algorithms to create a system that could adapt to different lighting conditions and object shapes.
Cool. So you're showcasing your skills in computer vision control systems and problem solving all in one story.
Exactly. And I bet RoleCatcher could help me fine-tune that story even further, making sure it's tailored to the specific company and role I'm applying for.
Absolutely. It can help you highlight the most relevant aspects of your experience and ensure your story resonates with the interviewers.
This is incredible. I'm feeling so much more confident now.
That's what we like to hear. Remember, confidence is key in any interview.
True that. But confidence comes from preparation, right? And thanks to this deep dive in RoleCatcher's amazing resources, I'm feeling pretty prepared.
That's the spirit. You've got this.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I hope you're ready for the final part of our journey into robotics engineering interviews.
I'm excited to wrap this up and send you off feeling confident and prepared.
Me too. And just to recap, we've been using RoleCatcher's career and interview guides as our roadmap for this deep dive.
Amazing resources, truly.
We really are. Okay, so in the previous parts, we've covered a lot of ground. We talked about those initial spark questions, the technical deep dives, and even touched on ethical considerations and staying up to date.
Yeah, we really hit all the major points.
But there's one thing we haven't talked about yet that I think is crucial for success in any interview. Teamwork.
Absolutely. Robotics is rarely a solo endeavor. You're almost always going to be working as part of a team.
So how do we convey our teamwork skills to the interviewers?
Well, first off, avoid those generic statements like, I'm a team player. Everyone says that.
Right. It's kind of meaningless without any substance.
Exactly. Instead, think about specific examples of times you've collaborated effectively on projects.
So like tell a story about a time I had to work with a team to overcome a challenge.
Exactly. Highlight your communication skills, your ability to listen to different perspectives, and your willingness to compromise.
And maybe talk about different roles I've played in teams. Like, Sometimes I've been the leader, other times I've been the technical expert, and sometimes I've been the one supporting my teammates.
Right. Showcasing your versatility is key.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, teamwork is officially on my interview prep checklist. Now, before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing that RoleCatcher emphasizes: networking.
Oh, yeah. Networking can be a game changer. It's all about building relationships, learning from others, and opening doors to new opportunities.
It feels a bit daunting sometimes, though. Like, where do I even start?
I get it. It
So,
can
yeah.
feel overwhelming. But RoleCatcher actually provides tools and resources to make networking easier.
Really? Like what?
Well, they have a dedicated networking section on their platform where you can organize your contacts, track your interactions, and even get personalized tips for reaching out and building relationships.
Wow, that's amazing. It's like having a CRM for your professional network.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It helps you stay organized and make the most of your connections.
Okay, I'm convinced networking is officially added to my to-do list. And with RoleCatcher's help, it feels much less scary.
Glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap up completely, I want to ask you one final question. What's the one piece of advice you would give to someone about to step into that robotics engineer interview room?
That's a tough one. But I think the most important thing is to be yourself. Let your passion shine through, be enthusiastic, and show them why you're genuinely excited about robotics and why you'd be a valuable asset to their team.
Could not agree more. Skills and experience are important, but ultimately it's your personality, your passion, and your drive that will make you stand out.
So true.
Yeah.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive. I've learned so much.
Yeah.
I feel so much more prepared to tackle those robotics engineer interviews.
It's been my pleasure sharing these insights with you, and I have no doubt that you're going to rock those interviews.
Thanks for the vote of confidence. And a huge thank you to RoleCatcher for providing such amazing resources to help job seekers like myself.
Yeah, they're really leading the way in career guidance and interview prep.
All right, listeners, that's a wrap on our deep dive into robotics engineering interviews. We hope you found it helpful, and we wish you all the best in your job search. Remember, the future is full of possibilities, and with the right preparation and a whole lot of passion, you can achieve anything. So go out there and build those awesome robots.
And don't forget to have fun along the way.
Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in to the deep dive. We'll see you next time for another exciting adventure into the world of knowledge and insights